Welcome to the MindShift Movement Podcast, hosted by Alan Johnson. On this podcast, Alan will be sharing with you empowering, effective, and actionable knowledge within the fitness and mindset space to help you, the listener, become the very best version of you physically, mentally, and emotionally. Now, get ready to dive into today's episode.
Hey guys, welcome to the new podcast, the MindShift Movement, with me, your host, Alan Johnson, and I'm super excited to be bringing this podcast to you guys. It's been something that I've thought about for a while, but the timing just wasn't right. I had other priorities going on with family, life, and business, but here I am, and the main thing is that I'm getting this launched, and today is the first ever episode. And it's going to be a brief overview about who I am, where I've come from, a bit about my background, and yeah, just basically about who I am. So, growing up, I grew up in a place called Romford, which is based around Essex and London in the UK. And growing up with my mum, my dad, and I've got an older brother as well. And the memories that I've got from when I was a child were usually based around like Christmas or our caravan holidays. And they were kind of the best times I had at that time. But growing up, I was in a bit of a negative environment with my mum and dad, where they used to just argue every single day. Well, that's what it seemed like towards the end of their relationship. And it kind of messed me up a little bit as a kid, because I was going into school and I had these strange feelings, and now I know that it was like depression and anxiety, but at the time, as a young child and with no one really to talk to, I didn't know if those feelings were, normal, or does everyone feel this way? So it really affected like my schoolwork. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't focus. I felt quite low confidence, insecure. And like I say, this went on for years. And like I say, it was a little bit of an environment where I just didn't feel comfortable, being at home. My dad sadly passed away around 8 months ago now. And he's been an alcoholic his whole life. And a lot of the arguments were based around his alcohol intake with my mum and dad. And one morning, I kind of just woke up. I was around 14 years old, and my mum had her suitcases packed and ready to leave the house, okay? So it was quite a big shock for me at that age, because, like I say, there'd been so much arguments, and it was a really negative environment there, and it was definitely she was doing the right thing, but in a 14-year-old's mind, I kind of felt like my mum was just running away. And that morning, like I say, I still remember it really clearly, and she kind of put the question on me, are you coming with me, or are you going to stay? And like, I walked her to the bus stop, and I chose to stay with my dad, and I think it was just because of I didn't want change. I was used to seeing my mates at school. I was used to where I was living. And at the time, I felt the right decision for me was to stay with my dad. And to this day, I still feel like it was the right decision at the time. And, waving my mum off that day, I had a little cry at the time. I was just a young boy, and I didn't really know what to think. I didn't know what to do. And yeah, it was quite a sad day for me. But from then on, the kind of bunking at school got worse. I started smoking. I started doing drugs. And I wasn't going in a really great direction. And like I say, the environment around me, which on later episodes I'll share how important environment is for growth and progress, and to make sure that we've got a positive environment around us and support system. But it wasn't serving me very well. And like I say, it was bringing on feelings of anxiety and depression, which I didn't really understand at the time. And it wasn't a great place. And it led me to, like the day I was 16 years old, I chose to leave school, and I went and got a job on a building site which is in Bowlow, London Road. And yeah, my career, so to speak, started from there. And I was, like I say, on a building site, just labouring, and I was getting a bit of money in. Then come to the time where it was actually time to take our GCSEs, and I thought it'd be clever not to take them. And because I just didn't want to miss out on income. Because like I say, living at home with my dad, my brother by this point had left to go to university. So it was me as like a 16-year-old boy at home with a alcoholic dad. And he did go to work, fair play to him. He was a milkman, but it was just, it wasn't a great place to be. So I decided that I needed the money to get food and everything like that. Decided not to do my GCSEs. And, again, at the time, I thought it was like the best decision to make. And to be fair, today I still don't feel that was the wrong decision. Because let's face it, like GCSEs nowadays, do they even mean too much? I feel like that I'm actually in a really great place in my life, and I work for myself now. So those GCSEs aren't really needed for me right now. So yeah, what ended up happening with that job was the owners of the company were basically screwing over like Wix's, Travis Perkins, and building up this debt and not paying them. And basically the company ended up shutting down, lost my job, lost my income. And then that's when I come to a decision where I didn't know where to go. And I knew that environment wasn't right for me. So I actually ended up coming down to Southend, where I live now, and staying with my nan for the weekend. She thought it was for the weekend, and I never went home. And yeah, love her to bits. She's done everything she can for me. She's like a mother to me, and yeah, it was a really great thing for her to do for me to bring me out of that kind of hole I was in. And yeah, I'll always have massive respect for her, what she did for me. And so even moving to Southend, and I still had those kind of feelings of depression and anxiety. And by this point, when I was like 17, 18, I started to realise that, those feelings aren't how I should be feeling, and maybe how other people are kind of feeling on a daily basis. So I dipped in, started trying to get some help, had a bit of counselling, everything like that. Been on the pills, which, I don't regret or anything like that. I just tend to think it's like the quick solution or the quick answer that the doctors provide these days is just, prescribe drugs to us rather than try and get down to the root cause. So like work-wise, I've always been quite driven. So I was working for my uncle for a little while, and he's a plasterer, and I wanted to go on and start my own company. I ended up doing launching like a bit of a gardening company alongside the plastering, just to get working for myself, basically. I've done supermarket work where I started just as like a cashier, and I ended up becoming like an assistant manager. That was with the co-op. I've also been into recruitment. Same thing again. Started off just as a recruiter, and then I was actually going to become a manager of the branch. But that didn't end up going ahead because I actually moved to another company. And that led me on to actually starting my own business just over 2 years ago now. And so, yeah, that's like a bit about my journey, where I've come from, and my education and my work life. And like I say, these days now, I do work for myself. And it was quite a tough decision, like I say, just over 2 years ago, because we actually had our first baby Alfie on the way, and I was in a bit of a predicament because, like I say, I've just moved into a new recruitment job. It was closer to home. I thought it was the best thing to do, And I just hated it. Literally hated it. I was going into work and just didn't want to be there. I wasn't being productive, and that just isn't me. I like to keep myself busy and moving forwards, and I just knew it wasn't right. And like I say, we had Alfie on the way, and it was like that now or never moment, you know. So my fiance Shannon, she supported me all along. She said that, you know, if I didn't want to be there, she'd support me with whatever I wanted to do. And this is what led me to kickstarting my personal training business just over 2 years ago. And literally, guys, I had 0 clients, right? So I quit my job, had 0 clients because this was just a split second decision. And it all just went from there. At the time, I was still waking up like 5 a.m., 5:30 in the morning, even with no clients, just to train myself, to start documenting on social media what I was getting up to and how I could help people. And by the way, by this time as well, I already had my qualification, which I'd done part-time around a job previously, just because I wanted to get qualified in personal training. So yeah, just kind of built up from there. I had to have massive belief in myself, massive courage to walk away from that perceived secure job to start this brand new business. And it's had plenty of ups and downs, which most businesses, well, all businesses do. But ultimately, I really love what I do. And just helping my clients on a physical, mental, and emotional level. I feel that I give a lot more value than your average basic personal trainer, where you just show up to your sessions and you exercise and then you go away and then just turn up next week. So the kind of support that I provide clients with is meal plans, workout guides, recipe books. They get 24/7 access service to me as their coach. There's VIP groups on Facebook, so they get so much value added in. And I also now run events. So I have an event called the Creating Change, and I usually run them every 3 months. So I think the first day in January is going to be the 25th, but I still need to confirm that. And lots of value provided on that event, all around core values, limiting beliefs, goal setting, morning routines. So it's like a 4-hour workshop. It's going to be a free workshop. So if you were interested in coming along to that, just email me and we can potentially get you booked in if there's any spaces when you listen to this podcast. So in terms with my education, because like I've said, I actually left school without any GCSEs, but what I've chosen to do is just to invest in me, in my own personal development. And some of the ways that I do this is I listen to podcasts daily, I listen to audiobooks, I read books on a regular basis, I attend events. So I recently went to a Richard Bandler and Paul McKenna event, which was in London, and I took massive amounts of value away from that. I also work with coaches as well to help me with my own business. So I'm always investing in me because I know how important it is to invest in yourself to be able to progressively move forwards in the right direction that you want to go in. And I'm super excited of where I'm going as well with my business because, like I said, I have helped a lot of people, and I feel that just over 2 years in, I'm still just getting started. I'm still just building my foundations. I really love doing what I do, helping people physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I can see me doing this for a very, very long time. I mentioned also as well, so 7 months ago, I lost my dad, and it was a very, very hard time for me. Losing a parent is very tough, and I've never had to deal with it before. Pushing through the struggle and the challenges the last 7 months has been very difficult, and I don't talk to many people about how I actually feel. My partner's like my best friend, so I express a lot of my feelings with her, and she's been super supportive along the journey. And just moving on, still aiming for growth, still aiming for progress, but at the same time just getting that grieving, making sure that I'm grieving in the right way to help me move forwards with my life as well. So that is basically it from today's episode. Like I said, I wanted to keep it short and brief, just an overview about who I am, a bit about my background. And like I said, I'm very, very excited to be bringing some episodes to you in the very near future. I'm going to try my very, very best to have them on a weekly basis. Thank you all for tuning in. I really, really appreciate you investing your time in me, and have a fantastic day.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the MindShift Movement Podcast. If you'd like to support the show, please subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or Google Play. Share this episode with someone you feel would benefit from the content. And please leave a 5-star review wherever you download your podcasts. You can also contact Alan at ajfitmindcoaching@gmail.com or on Facebook at AJ Fitness and Mindset Coaching, and on Instagram at Alan_Johnson_coaching. We'll catch you on the next episode.